Hi everyone. This is a kind of different video. As you can see, I am definitely in front of a backdrop. Let's make fun of that at another time. But I have the lovely Kamisha here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Kamisha. I am a recent law grad of Northwestern School of Law. I'm so excited to be on your show today. And if you want to follow me on my social media accounts, I have a YouTube channel, which I'm very excited about. It is Itskay Yvonne. I'm sure Zoe will leave it in the link.
Yes, everything will be in the description box.
Yes, and I also have an Instagram. You can follow me at The Lori Life. And again, we're going to put it in the description below. So I'm very excited to give these tips that I have.
Yes, so today we're going to be doing 8 tips. Do you want to say they're Northwestern specific tips, or do you want to just say they're 8 tips for people that want to go to law school?
Okay, so I'm going to say there are 8 tips for people who want to go to law school. But since I am a recent law grad of Northwestern, I'm just going to say, go Wildcats. If you want to go to Northwestern for sure, then definitely listening to me. But, this is usually just generic tips that will apply to any potential aspiring law student.
Awesome. So what is your first tip?
Okay, so the very first tip is make sure that you want to go to law school. Because once you figure out that is the plan that you want to do, you need to create an application plan. Meaning you need to figure out what law schools you want to go to, why you want to go there, figure out, can you afford to go to the law school?
Yeah.
Plan accordingly, and then, once you have that plan, you can figure out, what should your LSAT score be? What should you be shooting for? What kind of loans you need to take out, and I think it will all come together then.
So what was the time frame for your plan specifically? Did you set out to do it over the summer? Did you take a year? How did you go about your specific plan?
All right, so specifically for me, I knew that I was not the type of person who could graduate from undergrad, start my career, and then come back to law school. I thought, once I'm in my career, that's it. I will not have the motivation to go back and do law school. So for me, I was fresh out. I was like, I need to go to law school just right away. My brain is learning right now. I'm observing. Let's not stop it.
So are you K to JD?
Pardon?
Are you K to JD? Did you go straight through without gaps?
Okay, so little disclaimer. So that was the plan, right? That was the plan. I was supposed to be K to JD, but life happened, and I actually got in a car accident.
Oh, wow.
Right? So then I broke both of my legs. That's another story for another day, but I had to actually recover and take a year off. But the plan, I did get accepted after undergrad, and my plan was to go right away. But like I said, life happened, had to divert from my plans. But I took a gap year.
And you made it.
I made it. So I tend to tell people that I just go straight through to avoid the whole sad story. I'm just like, yeah, I went straight through.
You were accepted straight through, so hey.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Okay, and what exactly would you say is your specific advice for someone that does want to go straight through? Would you tell them to start the process their junior year or their senior year?
Okay, so I would say start the process. Well, this one's a little iffy because I think when it comes to law school, you really have to know yourself. You need to know, how do you work? Are you organized? Do you have, are you motivated to keep going through, or do you need more time? Do you know that you're slower with things, getting things done, getting things filled out? And for me, I have a very impulsive, aggressive attitude. So I was just like, you know what, senior year, I'm going to have everything done. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to study for the LSAT during my senior year of undergrad. I am going to take a class if I need to take a class. And I was just like, I don't want to do more than a year of preparing for law school. Now, that's not everybody's story. Some people need more time. That's why I said it's important to know who you are. Figure out, do you need more time? Or are you doing like a full-time job where you know that you need to study for longer increments, fewer hours, longer increments? Or do you have like, are you not in school, not doing anything, and you can just study for 1 month straight and for 8 hours a day? Fine. So it's just really knowing like who you are.
Got you. So it's very specific. So what is your 7 tip?
Okay, we're going down number 7. Okay, so once you create your application plan and you are applying to law schools, and you notice that when you are applying, some law schools offer an interview. For instance, for Northwestern students, you can interview as part as your application process. And if you have that opportunity, I say take it. This is especially important if you're, let's say, if your GPA isn't high or if your LSAT score is not high, you can really show the university, the admissions committee, that like who you are as a person. Like, hey, my GPA might not be the best.
Yeah.
But, you know, guess what is best? Like my experience, my work experience, or, you know, my ability to balance what's around me, such as if I have a full-time job or a part-time job and I'm in school, you know, showing that you are strong enough to take on the law school curriculum.
So did you have an interview before you started?
Right. So for Northwestern, interesting. So for Northwestern, let me back up a little bit. So I went to undergrad in Alabama. So that's nowhere near Chicago.
Yeah.
Just to be clear. No, for geography, there's nowhere near Chicago. And so Northwestern allows you to interview, as in you can go to the campus and interview with a recruiter on campus.
Oh.
Or if you don't have the time to do that or the funds to do that, you can do an interview online. You just have to select the option. So after you submit the application, it will say, do you want to have an interview too? Like I said, I remember.
Always click yes.
Always click yes. And I especially say that now because I was a Black Student Initiative Fellow, which means I was a recruiter for Black students particularly.
Oh, wow. Right.
So I was interviewing Black students to get into Northwestern. So here's a little secret. The admissions committee says if someone doesn't really click on the interview option, that doesn't sit well with them.
Yeah.
It's like, why wouldn't you take the opportunity to, you know, make yourself look even better?
Does it come off as being like lazy or secretive? Like, how does it come off?
Kind of. It's kind of, yeah, both. It's kind of both. It's like, why wouldn't you take advantage of something that will probably escalate you or escalate your application? You know, why wouldn't you take that advantage of it? It's kind of like, it just doesn't sit well with the admissions committee. And like I said, well, no, I didn't say this. Northwestern in particularly really cares about the applicant as a whole. So
okay, so they're holistic.
They're very holistic, very holistic. That's why I said go to Northwestern, you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
They're very holistic. They really do care about who you are as a person and what you're bringing to their school, and do you make a perfect fit? So that application interview allows you to demonstrate that, because we all know that when you're writing something on paper, it never tells you your whole story. People don't know who your personality are, who your family, where you come from, where your background is. So this gives them that opportunity to really know who you are and sell yourself. So that's why I say it's very important. Take that interview, especially minority applicants, because I hate to say this, but most of the time, either our LSAT score is low or our GPA is low. And this is a way to kind of make up for that low LSAT score, GPA, if you have that. Not saying that's your story, but
yeah,
you have that.
No, that's a lot of people's stories, especially I feel URMs, underrepresented minorities. A lot of people are reverse splitters where they have this low LSAT but a high GPA, or they meet somewhere in the middle. So that's a great advice for honestly everyone. Even if you're not a reverse splitter, The LSAT, that's a story for another time, but
Right,
it's something else.
exactly. Right, it really is something else. And like, yes, I am a huge supporter for Northwestern, but like Northwestern is not the only one that offers the interview option.
Yes.
So if you can find other schools that offer that interview option, take it. Take it.
So what is your number 6 tip?
Okay, we're going down to number 6. So let's say you created your application plan, you did your interview, you got accepted, yay! So the next tip is before you go to law school, update your technology. And yes, this is important, especially in quarantine. If you're going to law school via Zoom,
Yeah, it's Zoom University now.
Zoom University, you really need to update your technology. And even if you are going in person, update your technology. I'm going to just share 2 little horror stories. I don't really want to frighten, but it's the reality of what it is.
Hey, we need to hear it. Everyone needs to hear these.
One student in particular that I went to school with at Northwestern was an amazing note taker. Like, she had everything set up. She had OneNote. She had all her classes set up. She literally was the best note taker. And it was, I think after midterms, she had an older computer and her computer started glitching, and it glitched so bad to the point that it crashed.
Whoa.
And all of her note taking, her wonderful notes, were gone.
She didn't have them backed up.
She didn't have them backed up.
Ugh.
So that's another key. Update your technology and back up your information.
Yeah, I would tell everyone, get a Dropbox, get a Google Drive. I use, like the terabyte external drives. I use those for editing. You don't really need that for Microsoft Word, but have a backup because that's intense.
Yes, and it was devastating. I didn't know, it's very hard to comfort someone when that happens. I mean, you can give them your notes, but when you make your own notes, the difference of how it feels. You understand better. Also, another student, I think her computer was glitching as well. They, like I said, they didn't update their technology. If they have a Mac, they didn't, what is it? When Mac tells you to update your software.
The OS updates or.
Yeah, that is very real because I think she didn't do that. And she had an older computer and it ended up glitching to the point where she had to send her computer to Apple for 2 weeks. And
Wow.
So in the middle of the semester, you're literally without a computer trying to survive law school. And to this day, law school is very technology focused. So that was very detrimental to her. And lastly, for story number 3, I said 2, but we only have one more. My friend was taking a final, and in the middle of her final exam, her computer crashed. In the middle of the finals. And she had to run to the information technology office, try to figure out how can she go back on the computer to take her exam. She already started. She was 2 hours in. And so we just want to avoid that situation altogether. So just make sure you're constantly updating your software. If you have an older computer, I'm sorry, but it might be time to get a newer computer.
So that's a smart investment.
Yes, it's a smart investment. Honestly, your career's on the line. It is what it is. Your career's on the line.
So what would your next tip be?
Okay, this is kind of more so of a do not tip. And that is, do not buy your books from the bookstore at your law school.
That applies to undergrad too, everyone. The bookstore is a scam, and it's typically another company that doesn't even belong to your school, so it's just, don't do it.
Right, do not do it. I know in law school you might feel a little anxious and you want to have the right materials right away, but it is definitely worth the wait. 3 days, 4 days is not going to kill you. You can scan someone's a textbook for that pages at the time, but do not buy from the bookstore. I recommend you figure out what books you need on your syllabus. Go to the bookstore, compare it to whatever is online on Amazon. That's a good one. eBay, another one. If you are feeling really anxious, you could buy the book and wait until your book comes and then return it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Get crafty.
So, question, have people, like, in your experience been friendly enough in the beginning of law school to say, like, hey, I'll give you a couple copies, I'll photocopy my book, or are they sharing in that manner?
Right. So this one is, so honestly, this one depends on your university, to be honest. Northwestern in particular, because I can speak on that, has a very collegial environment, a very friendly environment, collaborative environment. So when I walked into the school, 2Ls, 3Ls, even some 1Ls, they all automatically ask me like, hey, are you new here? What do you need? Do you need an outline? Do you need a book?
Wow.
Yeah, we're willing to help you. So it was not that hard for me to do ask for like copies of someone else's book. Or also with Northwestern, maybe other law schools too, often when you're coming in as a 1L, they have a Facebook page or where you can meet students in the class.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I've definitely seen those and the group me's.
Right, or the group me's. And then usually if you introduce yourself, which you need to do, then, you know, people will be more friendly, more receptive to your asking for help. But yeah, definitely don't buy it from the bookstore. And if you can, a lot of law students sell their books from last year, the previous year. So definitely get on it because they'll post an email on your school's listserv. So get on that right away.
Gotcha. And what would your next tip be?
What tip is this? This is tip.
You know, I'll be completely honest. I thought you said 5 at one point, and then did she say 5 or did I was I was hoping you knew.
Listen, if you
so
want to know what tip this is and you're still with us, just comment below.
Yes. Please let us know what tip that was because we definitely.
Okay, I have 8 for you guys, so I know I'm not going over 8, but do we know where we are? I don't know. But the important is the tip. So
and they're great tips so far.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this is tip number 6. That's what it's looking like. No, honestly, it doesn't matter. But next tip, everyone. The next tip is do not be afraid to ask for help. Yes, put your pride aside. And I know, like, listen, I know most of us have type A personalities and want to do things ourselves, or usually we're smart enough. That's how we got into law school in the first place. Like, many of us don't really need to rely on help, but law school is a different beast.
Wow.
And when I say don't let your pride be the reason that your grades fall, like, ask for help, like, talk to your professors. Many professors have open office hours where you can ask them questions on problems you don't understand or legal concepts that you do not get. You have teacher assistants if you're not comfortable with talking to the professor, if you're absolutely intimidated by them, which you have professors like that, you can just talk to their teacher assistant and figure out, like, what the heck does torts mean, you know? Like,
yeah, so you're saying don't be afraid to ask.
Don't be afraid to ask, or even if you are uncomfortable with the teacher assistant, like you have 2Ls or 3Ls who have gone through the process, you can reach out to your own community of lawyers or law students that you know and just get help. If you need it, get the help you need.
I respect that. I've definitely heard some people say like, oh, it's super competitive. And then I've heard other people say like, oh, people are willing to help you, just ask for the help. So it's good to hear from your experience that you could find someone, doesn't matter who it is, but well, it matters who it is, but you could find someone that's there to help you.
Right, exactly. And I actually think we're coming on 6 now. Now that I'm looking at my thing.
Wait a second. So everyone is 6?
Everyone is 6. That was 5.
This one's this.
6. Sorry. Lawyers don't do math. Sorry.
Yeah.
So tip number 6, do not rely on textbooks as your only learning source. Meaning you most likely won't understand what's in the textbook. Because that's what it is. Like, law is essentially like learning a new language. You're reading opinions from judges in the 1800s, 1700s, speaking with archaic language.
Jeez.
Making a simple "do not walk over there" is "do not walk it forth." Like, no, we don't have time. We don't have time. Like, it's like sometimes, you need the Cliff Notes. In layman's term, you need the Cliff Notes, and in law school that is okay. They have ample supplement books that will make contract learning easy, make constitutional law easy for you to grasp and understand the concepts.
So are there any specific websites you recommend or any books you recommend specifically?
Right. So one website is Quimby. I don't know if you're familiar. We're going to put that link below.
Yes, as well. She's helping me out here. Everything will be listed below. I've heard about Quimby, but could you give like a brief little of what Quimby does?
Right. So Quimby is essentially a legal website. To be honest, I don't know who made Quimby, who came up with Quimby. I have no idea.
It's all right, girl. We're not sponsored by them, so it's fine.
Not sponsored, but Quimby, if you want to sponsor us, I'm kidding. I don't know who made up the Quimby, but what they do is essentially brief every law school case that you have. So, for instance, if you do not have time to read 100 pages, like I don't know, like family emergency came, or you got stuck in traffic and you just really got home at midnight and you just genuinely don't have the time, Quimby would break down the case in a short paragraph with the issue, the conclusion, the facts, everything that you need to prepare you for the cold call. Now, when I say, although Quimby does a good job doing that, remember though that there is a chance that your professor will dive deeper into the 100 pages that you've read. So that's why I said don't purely rely on just using Quimby. You have to read your cases. That's just in case you're not able to get it, or if you're really not understanding, it really just breaks down the conclusion and the law.
So it's Spark Notes.
Basically Spark Notes, right? So and the cool part is they have practice questions, they have quizzes that will also help you during finals and midterm season, and they have videos.
Oh, okay.
Yes, like the videos really do a great job of breaking down a case. Yeah, so that's Quimby. And then when it comes to supplemental books, I don't remember them off at the top of my head. So again, we're going to link some resources below. Tip number 7 is make sure you get some sleep.
Gotcha.
I know you want to read your 300 pages in one night. You want to pull an all-nighter because you're afraid that you might get cold called the next day. But let me tell you, your brain can only absorb so much information before it just stops retaining information. So when they say get some sleep, get some sleep. Don't be in the library all night thinking you're doing something, because honestly, you're wasting time.
I learned that in undergrad. So I originally was a chemistry major, and I had to switch my major just because I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was like, I can't function past 11 o'clock unless I flip. Like I have to get 8 hours. That's right. Just it. I'm not useful to anyone without 8 hours. So if anybody else is watching and you know that, don't stay up all night reading, because you're not going to retain all of that. You just got to get through what you get through, and then I guess use Quimby.
Use Quimby. Or any other supplemental books, because they break it down probably in a more detailed way than Quimby, but Quimby is real quick. And lastly, last tip number 1, the most important tip.
Yes.
Wow, with 2 fingers. Tip number 1.
No, that's not even it. It was like 8, 7, 6, 5 times, and then 1.
Again, law students don't do math.
No, we don't.
Tip number 1 is to stop imposter syndrome in its tracks. Meaning, do not doubt yourself. Do not compare yourself to others. You belong in law school. You are smart. You got in. You're completely capable of graduating, becoming an attorney. So don't let fear stop you from being great. Don't let yourself stop you from great. Just keep being consistent, and being persevere. Like you can do this.
Would you say that everyone goes through imposter syndrome, or do you think it's specific to the person?
I think there's some point in life that everyone goes through imposter syndrome. I don't know if that moment is when you go to law school, if that's your moment, it kind of creeps out.
Gotcha.
I do think, well, specifically to me, since I am a minority, I went to a HBCU for undergrad, and this was my first time ever going to a PWI. So for me, I think it was very heavy in the forefront of my mind, like, wow, I don't know if I can keep up. I don't know if my education was good enough. But let me tell you, if you did go to a HBCU, your education is good enough. Don't doubt, you do belong there. Because when you start law school, everyone has a mask on, okay? I'm being serious. Like, everyone might seem like they know what they're talking about, but in reality, no one has any clue. This is new to everyone.
Yeah, we're all figuring it out.
We're all figuring it out. So just pretend until you make it.
For anyone in undergrad watching, I could attest that same thing happens there. No matter what institution you're in, you're gonna one day say, like, yeah, maybe this was a fluke, but it definitely wasn't. You got in for a reason. You could get through it. And if you want to go to law school, you could do that too.
Right. Fake it till you make it. Fake it until you become it. Key.
Exactly. Until you become it. Thank you so much for all the amazing tips. There's definitely a lot to digest. So everyone, make sure if you got to rewatch the video, or go down to the description box, see everything listed. And do you want to give everyone your socials again in case someone wants to reach out to you?
Right. All right. So thank you for inviting me. Again, I'm glad I could share these tips. I know I mentioned Northwestern a lot, but it's really generally specific. I just can only give you what I experienced at Northwestern. But if you want to see law videos, you want to see a law student, a graduating law student, and my whole legal journey, you can follow me on my YouTube, Itskay Yvonne, and follow me on Instagram at The Lori Life.
And I could definitely recommend her as well. That's actually how I reached out to you. I'm a subscriber. I love her channel. She gives good advice. So that's why I had to get her on my channel to just share the wisdom with everyone. So thank you again for joining us. And thanks for all the great tips and for giving us an insight on both Northwestern and you as your personal self experience.
Thank you. I'm happy to help anytime. And I wish everyone who's watching this the best. You're great and you're going to make it. No worries.